Hello and welcome back to Mark's House and Garden UK. This video is called Bamboo Rescue and Bamboo Propagation. I bought this black bamboo last October, it's now June, from RHS Harlow Car when I visited there and did a video. It was in the reduced section in their plant sale area. It should have been about £110 and I paid £25 for it. And it's in a sorry state. It's really heavy because I've had it soaking overnight. And I'm going to perform radical surgery on that and bring it back to life, I hope. Now, I'm also going to revisit the bamboo barrier, which I put in 18 months ago. Behind the camera here, there is a bamboo hedge. It's not black bamboo, it's green bamboo. I'm going to show you why it's necessary. In some cases with bamboo, to put a bamboo barrier in place. Let me tell you what I've brought together here to deal with this black bamboo, which really is in need of rescuing. As I've already said, I've soaked it overnight in a pail of water. I want it to be fully hydrated before I start work on it. So that's the first thing. The price is on here somewhere. Let me tell you what it actually cost me. Well, it was originally 50% off, then it went to 75% off, but unfortunately, oh yes, it was 110. I must have paid £27.50. If this whole experiment doesn't work, and I think it will, and I will update you, I'm not too concerned because I've put £27.50 into the coffers of the RHS, which is a charity. Here I have a bucket of crocks. Basically pieces of terracotta, which I'm going to put in the bottom for drainage. I've also got some pelleted chicken manure. I've got a large tub, slightly deeper than the original depth of the original plant. And I've got some compost. Now this is not getting pure compost. It doesn't need pure compost. Compost is expensive. So I've also got a wheelbarrow load of sandy topsoil out of my garden. It's going to be 50-50 mix. But we have to create something that's worth replanting first. And that's why I've got my loppers and my saw. I'm going to do something which I've seen done before and I know it's effective, but it looks quite brutal. I'm going to get this out of the pot. Now, this is completely root bound in this pot. And I can see why it's reduced and I can see why it's failing. I would say it's close to death. Not quite dead yet because there's some green growth on it. But if it was left in this pot much longer, it wouldn't do very well. I'm not going to be able to get it out of that pot without destroying the pot, which is what they're for. And I will find when I get that out of that pot that it's completely root bound and you'll see the roots. I'm going to saw the bottom off the roots and I'm going to saw what's left into 3 or 4 pieces. And I'm going to replant those in this big tub with some drainage, which is what the crocks are for. 50-50 sand and compost with some chicken manure pellets mixed in. This is going to be the exciting bit where we do some damage. So I'm going to have to get into this plastic tub with my loppers and basically tear it apart. I'll bring the camera in a bit closer so that you can see it. Well, the main purpose today is to rescue this, but it's also a way of propagating bamboo. This is a perfectly valid way of propagating bamboo. So we should just go down into that now. Our loppers and just break away. I am not worried at all about damaging the roots because I'm going to deliberately damage them again even further in a moment. I basically need to get access to them first. And this is like using a big tin opener. I did a video the other day called How to Get Free Plants. And one of the ways you get free plants is by propagation. So I'm hoping that I might end up with 3 or 4 bamboo plants after this exercise is completed. think we're nearly there now with extricating this plant from this plastic pot. I'm just getting to the bottom there. It is like using a big can opener, really. So out comes a very soggy, very wet, very, very root bound root ball. You know what's coming next. Going to get dissected. Now, I'm not worried about the damage I'm doing to this root ball. A lot of my gardening videos are experiments, but that's how you learn. And I will learn from doing this, and you will learn too by watching the videos. Apologies for my neighbour's dog. There's a kennel just off camera, so I'll persevere. I'm just cutting the bottom couple of inches off the roots. That will stimulate it to produce new roots going downwards. I'm also going to divide this into sections which will stimulate it to produce new roots outwards. And it's those new roots, when they start growing, which will feed this plant and make it burst back into life. Probably fast forward this bit. One wonders if that would grow if you planted it, so I might try that actually. I'll try that. But for now, let's concentrate on this. I'm going to get the label out of the way and do a bit of an assessment. Now, we've got quite a lot of weeds on the top of this, especially over that side, so I'll just tear those away. Incidentally, did you notice I've put a board down on my table to protect the table? One of my subscribers said to me once, I don't want to hear you talking about projects, I want to see you doing things, something. And in fairness, I do a lot in the garden, I don't always just talk about projects. Right, it's starting to kind of develop into what I can see as sort of 4 potential plants. So sort of one over here, one there, one on that side, potentially one in the middle, and certainly one over here. They're all going to be small plants at first. The next job is dividing this up into sections. So there we have 4 chunks of what was one plant, and each one of these chunks has got green growing out of it, and that green will inevitably be attached to some root matter. So they are now going to be planted up, but before I do that, I'm just going to make an assessment as to whether I should remove any more of this. See, my theory here is the closer the roots to the living bits are to new soil, the better it will be for the plant. So I'm just going to pare off a little bit more what is probably dead root matter. But whilst I've been doing this, I've had another idea, which is all these bits of dead root matter I'm going to plant into a shallow tub, and they may just spring out some new plants. We'll see, and I will update you. That might grow, you never know, do you? So there we go, that's a bit smaller. Do the same with this one. What's encouraging is I can see living roots in this soil matter, which suggests to me that it's not dead yet. That can come off. 4 chunks, loads of bits. The bits will be planted in some used soil. We'll keep our fingers crossed, see what happens. These are now going to be replanted all together, but separate in this big tub. And the tub, as you can see, is deeper than the roots, so they've got some room to grow. And then if and when they do take off, I will be able to separate this again if I want to, but there's going to be a couple of years in this tub for them before they need repotting. That will keep them nicely contained. Right, so getting these replanted. First of all, crocks. What they do is they cover the holes in the bottom of this pot, which stops the holes from getting blocked up with soil, helps drainage. So that's why I put crocks in the bottom. I now need to mix up the planting medium for these, and as I've said, it's going to be 50-50. 50% soil, 50% compost. Compost, organic matter for food, sandy soil just as a medium. The sand will help with the drainage. That, by the way, is ruined really. There was quite a lot of gravel in the mix, so that will be blunt, but I am using that to cut up the insulation in my garage conversion. It will be fine for that job. Let's use this tub as a guide to measure out the compost requirements that we're going to need. So I'll half fill it with compost, half fill it with soil. Then we'll mix it up and add some chicken manure pellets. Half full of compost. Let's get some soil in there. Because this soil has been dug out of my garden, it will be living soil that have worms and worms' eggs in it and microorganisms, and it's that which works on the soil and the compost to actually produce plant food for the roots. So it's almost like a biome, a little environment underneath the ground. Speaking of which, there's a big fat juicy worm that can go in. That's going to be plenty. Move things out of the way. Now I'm going to tip it out and give it a mix. Just getting in there. Like I'm mixing a cake mixture together. Well, it's a chicken manure, not too much, it's very, very rich, and I don't want to burn the roots, but I will put a little bit in. Not too much. I'll put the link to that in the description box below this video, just in case you want to go and buy some. So in goes the mix of compost and soil. Underneath, this is to give it a base level underneath to put roots down into. That's enough in the base. Now we'll plonk these in roughly equally around the edge to give each one space around itself to grow. And there's also a bit of space around this side, so there'll be some soil down at the edge of the pot as well for it to grow into. I'm quite happy with that. Now, I've not brought them right up to the top of the pots because I want to be able to water this, and I want to be able to water it without the water running off. So I've left a couple of inches at the top so that when I soak it, the water stays in there and goes down. Now it's a question of filling it up around these bamboos, getting soil all around, not burying them any more deeply than they were buried before. I'm getting soil. I mean, they're a bit like huge plug plants, aren't they? And I'm getting soil in between each of the plugs so that it can expand and grow outwards. Anywhere it touches fresh soil, that will stimulate the growth. And you may not be able to see it on camera, but I've got one there, one here, and one over there. If these all take off in 18 months, 2 years, I'll propagate it by division again. We'll have 4 separate plants, and then I can choose what to do with them. So that's that part of the job finished. One thing I'm going to do now is those chunks there that I spoke about earlier. I'm just going to throw them in some soil in another tub and keep my fingers crossed. I just want to carefully lift this down. I'm lifting it down before I water it. heavy. Again, a small handful of these as a top dress, so that when I do water it, they will start to disintegrate and feed the soil. You don't need too much. A plant doesn't need a lot of food to survive. Some of the food will be produced by those microorganisms in the soil. And then of course you've got heat, light and water. Those are the basics plants need. Right. This is a complete experiment. Break these up in small pieces. Alright, job done. I'm going to show you the bamboo barrier and the bamboo that I planted 18 months ago. I'll get hold of the camera. Here is the bamboo hedge, which started out as 8 very weedy little plants. But look at this. Incredible stalk, getting thicker and thicker. Every time a new one comes up, they just get thicker and they sprout up. You can see one there. But these are growing out sidewards, and I know for a fact that if I was to dig down, there's the barrier, there's the bamboo barrier there. There's a whole video about the bamboo barrier which I will link to at the end of this one, but that's the bamboo barrier. It goes down either side, it goes down 18 inches, and it's to prevent them from getting out. Now, my brother-in-law has a lawn which is completely invaded by his neighbour's bamboo, and they are now about to spend £20,000, and I'm not exaggerating, getting his lawn dug up and replaced and the bamboo removed. So it's a little bit like Japanese knotweed in a way, isn't it? In the wrong place, if it's not contained bamboo, can be invasive. There we go. Bamboo rescued, divided, propagated, and we'll update you. If you're watching this in June 2024, you're watching it virtually as I've published it. Any later than that, maybe September onwards, there will be an update, and I'll post a link to that update up here on the screen and at the end of this video. I'll see you soon for some more bamboo rescue adventures. Bye for now.